Hello, everyone. Welcome. And today we're going to be talking about a really great formula, and it's called DMAIC. So that's DMAIC. So let's start with the D. The first D is for define. So first you have to define the problem because a lot of times we have problems, but we also have symptoms of problems. So you might be dealing with something where it's got like all these different branches and it's called all these different issues, but it's really just one issue that if you solve that, would solve a lot of the symptoms. So the first part is you're going to have to define the problem, really get down into that. Ask the whys, the 5 whys, which is why did that happen? Okay, well then why did that happen? Okay, well then why did that happen? And then why did that happen? And then why did that happen? Till you find the root cause of the issue versus just dealing with the symptom. So the first D is that you need to define the problem. What is it that we're trying to solve? Step 2, the M, you need to measure. What is that? You need to measure what's actually going on. You need to have some data about yourself. So if you say that you're having problems with time management, I have a really great time management course. Go to classrooms and you can take that. And it goes through this whole process dealing with your time management. But the first thing you have to do is, how are you spending your time? How do you even know what the problem is or how big the problem is or where to focus on if you're not really measuring anything? So you need to start measuring your data. You need to figure out, okay, how many times does that happen? What times of day did that happen? What triggers that? Let's start getting some data together so that when we're looking at this problem, we can say, here's the problem, and here's actually how that's exemplified in the rest of the world. So you need to start to measure things. So that's DMA, analyze. So once you get all these measurements, what does it mean? What is the data telling you? The data is always telling you something. And sometimes the data might tell you that something that is really annoying to you is not actually a problem when you look at the data. And then there's things that might be going on with you where, wow, I thought that this wasn't a big problem, but looking at the data, it actually is a big problem. And look at all the different areas that it's impacting. So it's super important that you want to make sure that you define the problem, remember, measure your data, and then analyze your data so you can figure out what is actually going on. So DMA, the next one is I. So this is where you're going to start figuring out what can I improve, right? We know what the problem is. We've looked at our data, so we kind of have an idea of what's going on. We've analyzed the data, so we really have a good idea that if we go in this direction, it can improve 3 or 4 or 5 things. So pick some things that you want to do. And in this improve phase, I think this is the part where people have a hard time wrapping their mind around. In the improve phase, you don't know the exact right answer, right? You're trying to figure it out. So we're going to try it and we're going to see, based on the data, whether or not that was actually improving. And that's why you need the data, because once you start to implement a new improvement, you have to find out, did it actually change any of those numbers? Did it actually make the movements that you were trying to make? Because sometimes we'll change things and maybe it fixes some things, but it didn't fix the main thing. And so we want to say, well, let's go back and find some other improvement that can help us to fix the main thing. And then the last thing that you want to do is control the process, which is that whole process that I went through, right? You're just doing it all over again. You're finding out what's wrong, what's the problem. You're measuring your data. You're analyzing your data. You're putting into some type of improvement, and now you're controlling the outcomes, which means that after you put in that improvement, you're going back and looking at the data to say, did this improve anything? Did this make anything better? Or am I still dealing with the same problems? Has it exacerbated? Has it gotten less? Or have I uncovered new things that maybe I need to focus on more than these things? So that control process is so important because that's the process where you're going back through and you're saying, I did this. Did it work? Did it not work? And if it works, do more of that. All right. And then if it doesn't work, stop doing that because you're in that improving and controlling phase. So that is the DMAIC formula for problem solving. So if you have a problem, let's recap. First, you got to define what your problem is. Second, you got to measure your data, find out what's going on, get some data together. 3, you got to analyze the data. What does the data tell you? 4, you have to say, okay, based on what the data is telling me, here's some areas that I can improve and go ahead and try them out. It's just a trial. You're just trying to figure it out. And then 4, control. Go back and look at that process again and say, okay, did it improve it? Maybe, yes, no, do more. If not, do less. If so, maybe you need to do another improvement. Maybe the one that you chose wasn't. And I have a really great, if you go into that DMAIC formula, I know it's for time management, but you can really use that for anything. And I have some really great tools on there that you can use when it comes to even prioritizing what improvements that you can take based on how they're going to have impacts. So the great thing about Lean and the great thing about a lot of these tools is it helps you to give you an analytical mind. Someone that you would pay, like someone like me who would come in and say, all I'm doing is drawing from these tools to figure out what your issue is and trying to take you from where you are to where you want to be. So it's really important that you make sure that you understand where you are, and then you find someone or use the tools to help you get to where you want to be. So I hope that that has helped somebody today, as that was your problem solving training, and I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.